front of you lies 8 weeks of door slamming short track racing. What do you need to win? Preparation. Teamwork. Concentration. And as Mike Eddy found out, you have to stay out of trouble. It's summertime in Wisconsin, and we have made our way to the southwestern portion of the state, right near the borders of Wisconsin, Iowa, and Minnesota for the LaCrosse 300. Weather conditions are pretty good here today as we get set to go racing with 300 laps here at LaCrosse Speedway. There's some rain in the area, but things look pretty good right over the racetrack. Hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Shaheen. Jim Tretto joins me, as always, as we get set to bring you another live telecast here on TNN of the AC-Delco Challenge Series. And Jim, we've gotten underway with this 8-week stretch with the ACA cars, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty tough thing for some of these drivers, and you got to get through all the tricky spots on the racetrack.
It's a very important run. This is the first time in 15 years ASA has been here, but last week started that 8-race run, and Mike Eddy was the dominant car, but Dave Sensiva had something for him until he got involved in an accident with Dennis Lampman. But that did it open the door for Mike Eddy to lead from that point on and claim victory, his second win of the 1996 season.
Here's a look at the point standings now as we've gotten through Jennerstown. As you take a look, you'll see the number on the far right side. That is whether or not a driver has moved up or down a spot in the point standings, and we'll track that through this 8-week stretch. So you can see Scott Hansen has moved up one spot. Gary St. Amand has moved back one spot. And now as we show you the back half of the top 10, you can see at the bottom end there, those three drivers, including Mike Eddy, has not moved up any positions. That's why there is no number alongside of their name. Okay, so that gets us underway as we get set to go racing here today at LaCrosse. Now, coming here for the first time in 15 years, there's a lot of questions. Maybe we'd see a new name at the front half of the field. Dave Burns brings us up to speed as the third member of our broadcasting crew as to how qualifying went.
Well, Ralph, Ted Smokestad was at the front of the field before once last year, but that was at Columbus, and the unique format at Columbus didn't allow him to start in that position. Today, Ted Smokestad will start the furthest he's ever started in an ASA race, up in the 5th starting position on the inside of row number 3. Now, Ted, this is a long race, 300 laps, but you and I talked earlier about the fact that you want to start up here in front, even though it doesn't matter until the 300th lap.
Well, Dave, starting up front's always important. You can stay out of a little of those mishaps that happen a lot of times early in the race. People get a little anxious, and I feel very comfortable tucked behind this Lane Automotive Ford right in front of me. We'll try to keep the Super America Pontiac right on Bob's tail, and hopefully he'll take us to the front.
Okay, Ted will have Bob Sineker to follow through. He's one of the other guys up in the front without a lot of experience here. He's kind of the exception on the outside of Ted. Brad Loney raced here for 2 years, was crowned Rookie of the Year one of those years in his late model. Steve Holshausen, who ran very well at Cedar Rapids, runs weekly here now at LaCrosse. And Scott Hansen on the outside of row number 1 has won the longest contested race here at LaCrosse, the Oktoberfest 200, later in every year in every LaCrosse season. But on the pole, the big story is Kevin Sawinski, for the first time in his young ASA career as a rookie on this circuit. He'll start in the primary spot. First of all, Kevin, congratulations. You guys did a super job in qualifying.
Thank you. I gotta give most of the credit to the crew. You know, we come here, we didn't get a chance to test all in the off season or anything, so you know, they come here and give me a great car in the 2 hours that we got to practice, so I got to commend them.
Now, Kevin, I wanted to ask you, did you guys purpose to put yourself on the pole here today? Did you work extra hard to be starting out in the front row?
Yeah, we unloaded this Brown & Sharp Coleman Racing Products car right out of the trailer, and it was pretty strong. So as the hot laps went on, we took a shot and gambled on it right at the end there, and got come around with it.
Well, you guys know we've been impressed by Kevin all year long, and starting on the pole today only reinforces his chances of possibly taking home a win in the 1996 season. Back up to you guys.
I wouldn't doubt it if he does that at all, Dave. Thank you. Now, the last rookie to win a pole was Brian Reffner, who did that 2 years ago in his rookie season when he was battling with Dave Sensiva. But there are two other drivers here today that we have not seen a lot of this year on the AC-Delco Challenge Series, so we expect to see some good things out of it.
In the car today for Bud Gavin and the wins 14 is Kevin Noodleman, 5-time track champion. He has the most laps here of anyone.
The other car is the number 68 car, Matt Kenseth, who has been spending some time on the Hooters Cup Series with the Loop Tech Chevy. Will be here with us hopefully at the next couple of races, what we're going to do here in Wisconsin, including Kaukauna and Milwaukee. Let's take a quick look at the manufacturer's point standings. Look at this battle. Pontiac trying to hang on to that coveted title they've held for the last few years as the top manufacturer on the ASA Tour. Let's go back downstairs now to Dave Burns so we can get this race underway, Dave.
Well, Ralph, I'm standing by with Dave Nelson, who is the Director of Distribution for Super America. And actually, Dave was a guy that put the paper together to have Super America start as a corporate sponsor with ASA 3.5 years ago. Dave, you're going to get us started today with a LaCrosse 300. Go ahead.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
It's been 15 years since the ASA cars have raced at LaCrosse, Wisconsin, and they're about to do it live on TNN. The AC-Delco Challenge Series on TNN, brought to you in part by Win Oil Company, makers of quality automotive car care products. Remember, when it's wins, it works. Meyer GM Goodrich Service Dealer, we want your business. And by Armor All Easy Deck Wash, the easy way to help restore the natural look to great weathered wood. There's a good look at the racetrack as they make their way down the front straightaway. Kind of an odd-shaped facility here at LaCrosse. 36 cars will start the event here today. Let's show you the grid. Kevin Sawinski up on the front pole. It is, of course, a track record. The last time ASA was here was with the old race cars. So we have new race cars, new track service. Sawinski and Hansen start on the front row.
In the second row, Bob Seneca has joined Steve Holtzhausen. Holtzhausen again runs here weekly. He should be strong today.
Back in row number 3, Ted Smokestad and Brad Loney, a couple of the youngsters who we expect to see get a win. Today looks like a pretty good shot for him.
In row 4, showing out the Valvoline Ford and Mike Eddy, the GM Goodrich Pontiac, the most recent winner in ASA.
Back behind them in row number 5, Dave Sensiba and Tony Raines, a couple of the young veterans, if you will, on this tour.
Row 6, Carl Muscat, another great qualifying run just outside top 10, and Mike Miller on the charge in 6th in points.
And in row 7, there you see a Middleman who spent so much time here, and Mike Garvey is sharing that ride with Rick Beebe in the 23.
Row 8, it's Gary St. Amand, who's 2nd in points now, and Harold Fair, a good run last week at Jennerstown.
Row 9 finds Dennis Berry and Matt Kenseth. Kenseth, of course, making his first appearance with the ASA cars this year.
Starting 19th will be Bill Baird. Outside of row number 10 will be Brett Bell out of Pittsburgh, Indiana.
And in row 11 is Tony Roper and the Zero Hero, Tom Jones.
Row 12, Jack Landis, a rookie in the point standings behind Kevin Sawinski and the Gentle Giant Dennis Latman.
Row 13, Tim Sauter. His father, Jim, was the winner of the only other ASA race here at LaCrosse, and Brandon Sperling out of Charlotte.
Row 14, the vascular surgeon, Yale Conley, and Johnny Spawn, his second ASA start in 1996. He's going to go for 7 races this year, run for rookie next year.
Row 15, the former motocrosser, Aaron Huff, and Alec Pinsino from Canada.
31st starting spot goes to Bob Dorswitz of Waterville, Michigan, and the former road racer, Randy Ruhlman in the purple Ford.
And row 17, go-karter Doug Mayer and Paul Payne making his first appearance with the ASA Series.
Row 18, Billy Turner and Carol Adamy. They'll bring up the rear of the field. They made it in through the qualifying race yesterday afternoon.
Let's check in one more time with Dave Burns before we throw the green.
Things about the race today, especially for the guys who have been here for a lot of racing, is turn number 1. They put down Jersey barriers from the front straightaway all the way down into turn number 1 on a white line, which is usually a guideline for the racers going into turn number 1. But you can see there's some black marks where the tire marks usually go down into the low groove in turn number 1. That's been taken away by the barriers. The barriers are there to protect the pits on the far end here, Kevin Sawinski being the furthest one down there. The main thing is, guys, that's going to take away a whole groove and move everybody up one groove. And they're going to have to watch out for that lap traffic lap after lap. Let's go back up top.
There's a look at the track, and you can see it's just a little bit bigger than a half mile. And the banking is not too steep, just enough to really help that car stick in there and rock it around these turns. And I think turn 1, if you talk to a lot of the drivers, Jim, now, for the guys who have been here especially, it's almost like a street circuit. You go down in there, you got cement barriers on both sides of you, tall barriers, almost as tall as the driver's windows, and it has really changed the perspective for a lot of the guys who have been here over the years, like Mike Miller and Sawinski and Hansen and so forth.
The wall is down there because of the extended pit lane, but it is a trouble spot. The drivers are blind heading into the first and second turn. 36 cars started this race. It will be 300 laps on this big half mile. Kevin Sawinski very much a favorite here to win today, or at least the fans would like it that way. 15 Chevrolets, 13 Pontiacs, and 8 Fords. Fords may have a disadvantage because there's so much turn to this racetrack.
It's been 15 years since the ASA cars have raced in LaCrosse, Wisconsin, and they're back at it once again. Sawinski and Hansen determined to lead the first lap as we come up the front straightaway. Hansen gets credited with the lap, but Sawinski not about to give up too much. He finally slots into second, and Holzhausen moves to third. Brad Loney sits in fourth. The Bluebird rides along in fifth. Mike Eddy has moved up to sixth already, and then it's Joe Knott and Ted Smokestad side by side behind them.
We see the top 4 or 5 cars. As we look down the front stretch, they're still too wide racing. Ted Smokestad, who raced here for a good season and a half in 92 and 93, running outside Mike Garvey. First time here. He's way wide in the yellow 23.
There's that battle with Sensiba and Smokestad. That is a fight for 8th position.
Smokestad determined to get that spot. Tony Raines ran well here in Memorial Day when Artko ran here. I came up for the 100 lapper here and had a good show. Smokestad, no stranger to this racetrack, though. Again, he ran here for a solid season and a half, 12 quick qualifiers in 15 attempts.
There's a race anywhere. You'll try it, too.
You got it.
Mike Miller, the number 18, sits right behind Tony Raines. That's 11th for Miller. And, of course, Noodleman in the 14.
Kevin has never raced more than 200 laps on any racetrack, and it is at this event, at this venue, I should say. He's run 200 laps in the Oktoberfest race. Dave alluded to it earlier in the broadcast. Kevin's never run 300 laps in his life in a race car, so we'll see how he holds up attrition-wise. At least his attrition factor, maybe body, not being able to handle it. We'll have to find out. He's a big guy.
And that last 100 or 50 laps, depending on how many you've raced over your career, can be a big difference, especially when you're out there competing with a group like the AC-Delco Challenge Series drivers, where this is basically, as far as the drivers are concerned, from inside the cockpit, it is a 300-lap sprint race as far as the amount of concentration, focus, and physical exertion that you're going to put out. You are really hustling that race car around here for 300 laps.
And here in southwest Wisconsin in July and August, that means high humidity, so it's very, very thick air here. So there won't be a lot of ventilation coming through unless they made appropriate ducts and that kind of thing to get air on the driver. There's a good look at how Scott Hansen may find his way around Kevin Sawinski.
Well, actually, Sawinski has found his way around Scott Hansen to take over the lead.
I think Scott and Kevin are pretty equal right now, and Steve Holzhausen may be running very close to pressure these guys. Holzhausen thinks, at least everyone else thinks, Steve has it figured out when it comes to tire wear here.
There is no doubt that these 3 drivers will be the pace setters for this race. The rest of the field came out here not knowing exactly what to expect. If you caught race day earlier this morning, you heard Kevin Sawinski tell us that the racing line and the qualifying line here at LaCrosse are radically different. And only those drivers who have spent a lot of time here are really going to know the difference. The rest of the guys are going to have to spend some time trying to figure it out. There's the Dorothy Lynch machine going down one lap. And let's take a look at the pass as to how Sawinski got around Hansen.
Off of turn number 2, Scott drifts wide to get maximum horsepower through the turn. Sawinski ducks below him down this back straightaway. There is enough room. That's a great pass by Kevin Sawinski. Hansen had to give up the inside line. And Scott gives him a little tap there. Says, nice job, but maybe it's my turn next time.
So the leaders are, I'm going to say about half a full straightaway back behind the main group at the tail end of the field. You can see Hansen's car getting a little loose. So now Hansen's going to retake the lead from Sawinski as they go down into turns 1 and 2.
This action happening on the 12th lap of the LaCrosse 300. Scott Hansen in the Ware Chevrolet, number 53.
Those big donuts going to be showing up on the sides of these cars real quick here today. We're going to be swapping a lot of paint, it looks like, up front here all afternoon. This close racing in the lead pack has allowed Brad Loney to close up in the Bunsaver 33 to make it a 4-car fight now for the lead. And once again, all 4 of these cars have spent a lot of laps here at LaCrosse.
Sawinski's using his knowledge right now, and I think Brad Loney is taking his notebook out and making notes on how he's able to stay on the outside. Loney runs there in 4th in the 33 car, but Sawinski will probably be one of the handful of guys that can run outside lap after lap without losing position or losing track time here. See, Hansen finally breaks free of him, but Sawinski determined to hang on to second.
He better hustle back to the bottom, though, Jim. It looks like Holzhausen's been able to pull through, and I think he was starting to think if he didn't tuck down there, he was going to lose another one to Loney pretty quickly. Now, Seneker and Mike Eddy have also caught this group. Look at this, 3 wide coming up the front straightaway. That's Aaron Huff in the 86, Dorsowitz in the 25, and Harold Fair in the 81.
Looks like Bob Dorsowitz may have a problem. This car, Bob Dorsowitz's car, is the car that Kevin Noodleman practiced with on Thursday prior to jumping into the Wynn's Pontiac.
Look at this. Holzhausen now takes the 78 to the front of the field. So, again, another car, another experienced driver here at LaCrosse taking his shot out front is Steve Holzhausen in the Menards back number 78. And what a great run he had at Cedar Rapids earlier this year. The only other time we've seen him.
Finishing second in that event. He hopes to run 5 races this season, trying to impress some sponsors, including Menards, to get some more backing for the remainder of the year. But Valley View Ford is on the side of that car as well. They're right literally in the front yard of the LaCrosse Fairgrounds Speedway. It's where Steve still works as an auto technician.
Heavily involved in lap traffic now. That's Billy Turner in that silver 58 they're going around. Doug Mayer's no touch number 11. And there's Harold Fair in the CarQuest AC-Delco number 81.
Boy, Harold sure dropped off the pace. I thought Bob Dorstwitz was having problems, but it looks like Harold may have a tire going down. He's in that white AC-Delco CarQuest Pontiac down to the bottom. Gingerly, they go through turns 1 and 2. Now we're already up into turn 3.
The 57 of Paul Payne has made his way down to the garage area, so problems developed with the 57. Well, the last time we were here, 15 years ago, Jim Sauter beat Dick Trickle, Rusty Wallace, Mark Martin to the line. Stay with us. We're back to LaCrosse, Wisconsin, where we are running the LaCrosse 300 for the AC-Delco Challenge Series car. Steve Holzhausen, easy for me to say, continues to lead over Kevin Sawinski and Scott Hansen, and Harold Fair's in the pit stage.
Well, Ralph, you speculated correctly earlier. It is a right side tire going down on Harold's car. They don't know which one, the front or the rear. They're going to change both of them. And now, obviously, you can see it was the right rear tire that was way down on Harold Fair's CarQuest Pontiac.
That is a shame. Harold is listed in 32nd position at this point as we go back up to the front of the field where Aaron Huff is about to go down a lap. The leaders have been slicing through the pack. They have already lapped all the way up to the 21st position in the field. So 20 cars on the lead lap. The pace by the lead group is just furious.
Last week at Jennerstown Speedway, we saw that with a lot of green flag laps early. Only 2 caution flags a week ago on a 250-lapper on a similar sized racetrack in Pennsylvania. It got down to the point where you either had to stay ahead of the leaders and stay fast, or you got down in a hurry. 1 lap down, 2 laps down. It was just a bad cycle if you were not on lead lap and had a little problem. You went down in a hurry because they, like here at LaCrosse Fairgrounds Speedway, the leaders were extremely fast around this racetrack. You see now the leaders tiptoeing through turns 1 and 2. With that new wall added down there, the extender down in turn 1, it's actually moved the groove up a full groove. What used to be the inside line is now part of pit lane. So they've had to make adjustments, but you can see now that they've gone too wide through there. And that flaming green monster, as Scott Hansen calls it, a fellow competitor, Steve Holzhausen, continues to lead.
Here is the battle for 10th between the Super America number 32 of Ted Smokestad and that Lane Automotive machine of Dave Sensmith, car number 4. West Michigan Dealers number 4. To give you an idea how fast this pace is, the pole went to Sawinski with a 19.9 19.4 second lap. The fastest lap of the race right now was lap number 7, a 19.6 turned in by Sawinski. That's only 0.2 of a second off of the pole. These boys are really hustling around here, averaging 99.5 miles an hour.
Average speeds on the straights, 120, 130 perhaps, if you can really get into the corner well.
That's the race average speed at 99. This battle for 10th continuing to rage on. Smokestad in the 32 spent a lot of time racing here at this LaCrosse, Wisconsin facility. He had spent a lot of time winning pole positions here. As we go back up front, look at the leaders in traffic, and this is really going to be the story of the day, I think, Jim. Positioning yourself on the racetrack with lap traffic and being able to run 2 grooves. Because as you can see, Holzhausen is stuck onto the bottom. If Brett Bell, that 56, can get out of Sawinski's way or go a little faster, Sawinski might have been able to do something on the outside.
This round has gone to Steve Holzhausen. We're not going to see the end of this. It's going to happen all day long, as you mentioned, Ralph, and it's going to be a problem for the guys on the inside. Because if you go to the inside, that's what the lap cars have been instructed to go to in the driver's meeting. So you'd hope you have a lap car in front of you that's faster on the lower groove. If not, you may lose position just by being on the inside.
So putting yourself in the right spot as we get into the later stages. Oh, and we got a spin. One car around.
Alec Pinsino in turn 2.
Alec Pinsino goes around in the 93 car. And that will bring out the first yellow of the day. With 262 laps still to go. We'll straighten Alec out, get him back in the field, and throw the green once again. Stay with us. We're back to LaCrosse, Wisconsin, one of the home racetracks for Steve Holzhausen, who has been winning races all over the state of Wisconsin for years and has been having some good times up front here today. Now, Dennis Lampman has dove down pit road. What's the story there, Dave?
Well, Ralph, they just shut down the motor, and they are going to work under the hood there. They also were working on the tire pressures on the right rear side, and can't tell right now. They're going in there pretty hard. Looks like they have perhaps got a plug wire or something that's not right down there, Ralph. It's not a plug wire.
Well, the first yellow of the day is the reason why the activity is slowed down on the racetrack. Keep your eyes on the number 93 of Alec Pinsino.
On the bottom, you see Bob Dorswitz in the white number 25. Who's way down low. Here comes Alec right behind him, and they make contact there. Does the 14 of Noodleman.
Yeah, right.
And as Dorswitz tries to straighten it out, Pinsino has tried to sneak by on the outside. You see it was kind of a gray area there on the racetrack, and that's what sent him around. And Dorswitz did get a flat right rear tire and came down pit lane. But
There were also a couple of other cars that dove down pit road. Sauter stopped, Dennis Berry stopped.
Matt Kenseth.
Matt Kenseth as well. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Coverage of the AC-Delco Challenge Series, the ASA cars. Back in LaCrosse, Wisconsin, we have just gone back under green flag conditions, and Holzhausen trying to hold on the lead, but here comes Sawinski again. And the brown and sharp Chevy to the bottom side of the 78 Ford. These two have really been going at it.
The thing about it, these guys are smiling as they do this. They know it's hard work, and they know they really have to run hard to run well here. As Sawinski goes to the bottom there, he's working very hard in his office, so to speak. But I think once the race is over, these guys are going to have a beer together and say, wasn't that fun going side by side for those laps? And indeed, enjoyment by the fans as well. Seeing 2 Wisconsin drivers make it 3 Wisconsin drivers go at it. Sawinski in the 1, Brown and Sharp Coleman Racing Chevrolet. Very strong contingent here. Team now based out of Minnesota. Steve Holzhausen used to throw his mini bike over the backstretch. He lived 3 blocks away. He and his brother used to do laps around here when he was growing up.
You might have caught a glimpse just behind Hansen comes the 88, the 7-time champ Mike Getty. This car, the 88, has finished 2 races so far in '96, this particular one.
Mike Eddy does have 4 DNFs.
And this particular car, the 2 races finished, he's won. Lakeland and Jennerstown. This car has been clipped 3 different times. In fact, he clipped it 3 times in 4 weeks. He's replacing the entire front or the entire rear behind or in front of the driver's compartment of the car. So Mike thinks he has finally maybe cut, clipped, and ripped all the bad luck out of the old number 88, and that maybe his luck has changed. We might see him moving up in those point standings as we get into this 8-race stretch. He's gotten around Hansen now and moves into third.
They just black flag Noah Yoder's number 07, driven by Todd, I was going to say Todd Forbes. It's by Jack Landis. His first trip here in the Maisto Toys number 07. He's been having trouble all weekend. He's now pulled it down the pit lane with heavy smoke off the back end of his Ford.
Brad Loney, the Bun Saver, 33. Flex Steel H&W back number 33 of Loney sits in 5th right now. Seneca is 6th, just out of frame behind them. There's Bob. Those cars all on the lead lap running in order. That is 1st through 6th. Dave Burns.
Pit stops and was brought out by the first caution flag. Of course, we saw Dennis Latman, who was trying to change that spark plug wire to solve his miss in the car. Tim Sauter, a dark horse, perhaps to win here today, took on right side tires and fuel. They tried to fix a loose condition there using stagger. And the 68 car of Matt Kenseth, it was tight. They put on right side tires and took some wedge out to try to make Matt a little bit faster. Those 3 cars in and out on our first caution.
And you were looking at the 57, which is Payne, who has been back behind the wall. There's the battle for 10th between the 87 of Tony Roper, the Cleanburn Pontiac, and the Car Cop Team USA Handball number 18 of Mike Miller coming with him. And Noodleman having problems in the 14. You can see it a little squirrely.
Kevin Noodleman, first time in an ASA car, first time in the AC-Delco Challenge Series. Looking forward to it, but did not have any seat time in this car until Saturday morning when they had a 2-hour practice session in bright sunlight. Trying to get that car worked on, dialed in. He may be working on just getting some laps in his first AC-Delco Challenge Series start.
That's 11th, 12th, and 13th.
He'll lay back there for a little while, but if I know Kevin Noodleman and the guys that have come out of this racetrack, like Steve Holtzhausen, like Steve Carlson or Tom Carlson, those guys know how to race. They know what 300 laps means. They will pace themselves. They will not charge to the front and run away. Holtzhausen's car, I believe, at this point is just that good.
Mike Miller hoping he does better than the men's portion of USA Team Handball, as they lost in their first match at the Olympics in Atlanta. So Mike, who comes from Atlanta, beat all the traffic out of town and hoping to have a better performance here. No gold, but a lot of green up for grabs here at LaCrosse. As you take a look at this battle between Sawinski and Mike Eddy, that is for second. The 7-time champ slides by the Pat Schauer Rookie of the Year points leader Kevin Sawinski. And the 88 Pontiac of Mike Eddy, Jim, is charging to the front.
Fans here are rubbing their chins going, how does that happen? Kevin Sawinski's had so many laps here. Well, Mike Eddy does not practice at racetracks. He does not go to a new racetrack and say, I think I need to get some laps in here. He goes there with a setup he thinks that may work, a neutral setup, and works on it from there. He obviously has it right at this point in the race. Mike Eddy got around Scott Hansen around the outside. Now he goes to the inside of Kevin Sawinski. This is not unusual to see Mike Eddy charge like he has.
We told you earlier that Paul Payne was out. Dave Burns has a story.
Well, Paul's first ASA experience was this afternoon. He got a few laps in and then problems. Paul, what put you out?
Well, we got out early today, and I believe the motor went. We're checking the gears. We might have put the wrong gears in it. It might be running a little bit too much RPM and broke the motor, but we're going to go over the car and see if we can maybe get it patched up and go get some lap time and seat time.
This is your first experience? You want to do it again?
Yeah, this is my first time in an ASA car and the first race, and we qualified for the race, and we want to keep on. It's a good series. We want to come back to it.
Okay, I think you'll see Paul back again when they can get this 57 car put back together.
0.3 of a second separate the lead. As you take a look at the field rundown,
It has not settled down at all where you see positions 10th on back. Raines, Mike Miller, and Kevin Noodleman. We showed you those briefly. Carl Muscatton and Kara St. Amanas, that we continue to scroll through the rundown, are continuing in their own little battles. Single file, but oh so close together down the front stretch. 10th through 15th places now, all piling to turn one, trying to weave their way through lap traffic. There's your leader, Steve Holtzhausen. Rice Lake Motorsports of Rice Lake, owned by Rick Scalzo, is the leader.
There's Gary St. Amant running along in 13th in the Wins Ford number 7. Carl Miscontin just in front of him. Tony Roper right behind him with Bill Baird in tow, and Mike Garvey behind that in the yellow 23. Garvey, of course, sharing that car with Rick Beebe this year. Garvey gets the nod this week.
Gary St. Amant qualified 16th a week ago. He started 15th today and has only moved up one spot. Tony Roper started 21st, and he has now made his way to the back bumper of the Wins Ford. Roper in the Childs Tire Chevrolet, and his owner, John Childs, very excited about how things have turned around this season for Tony Roper.
St. Amant needs a good run here today to stay in the thick of this points race. If Hansen is going to pull away here with this lead group and finish the way things look up inside the top 4, top 5, maybe even get a win here today, St. Amant is going to have to finish well up there as well to keep himself in the hunt.
Carl Wisconsin has had some great runs this season. He finished an excellent 5th at IRP. Qualifies in the top 10 each week, but has some problems on and off. And now we certainly see that he's got things handled in the right way at this point in the race. In the blue and white Carbright Odessa Auto Auctions Monte Carlo out of Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Boy, you can see all the 3 wide racing as it came out of turn number 4 and up the front straightaway. Smokestack was in the middle of that and got all sideways as the cars came barreling into 3. Everybody straightened themselves out. There's a good look at that Super America number 32. Now, Smokestack ran a lot of laps here early on in his career and won a whole bunch of pole positions. And one night, a guy came down out of the grandstands after watching Ted win a handful of poles here, wrote a check out, said, "I want to buy your car." Ted sold the car, took that money, and went and bought his first ever ASA chassis. That's how Ted Smokestack got started racing with the AC-Delco Challenge Series right here at LaCrosse. Sensible right in front of him in car number 4 is the battle for 8th.
See how easily they come off the corner and how strong Joe Knott's car is at this point in the race. Very down to the bottom, you see Sensible has a middle line going. This track does have 2 grooves until you get to turn 1. Then you got to funnel down into 1. But Joe Knott very easily through that turn. Corner speed, Ralph, is what the drivers have told me is very important. See Joe Knott settling into 7th, but he's got a handful behind him. Corner speed is everything here. The straightaways are not the longest part of the racetrack. Talking to Steve Carlson, as I mentioned, who has had limited ASA starts here, was helping out Scott Hansen this weekend with his chassis setup. He said that this racetrack is mostly turns. You're turning all the time. Straightaway speeds aren't that important, so getting through the corners and being able to get on the gas and mash it to the floor off of the turns 2 and 4 is the key to winning here and running well.
Joe Knott has done just about everything he can in ASA racing except win a race. Getting his first pole position last week at Jennerstown was a big step for Joe. As we've talked about this year, him and his father have mapped out somewhat of a 5-year plan for Joe, and Joe seems to be right on track as far as what they were hoping. The only thing he has not done is win a race. Not sure if today's track is the kind of track that favors Joe towards winning his first race. I think we're going to see some really good things out of him. Some of the venues coming up, I think Berlin in Grand Rapids, Michigan will be a really good racetrack for Joe Knott. I think some of the places like Milwaukee might be a really good track for Joe. Fords get to run a little bit bigger carburetor on the big 1 mile, and I think something like that might really come into play to help Joe Knott. But this track, neither Joe nor his crew chief, Chris Bradley, have had a whole lot of experience here at this place. I think this one is really going to favor some of the veterans like these guys right up front here. Steve Holtzhausen and Mike Eddy. In fact, Mike Eddy was one of only 3 drivers who started today in this ASA race that were here for the original running of ASA cars at LaCrosse. Bob Seneker, Mike Eddy, and Mike Miller were the only 3 drivers to be here. Kevin Swinski was probably in the grandstands that day. Let's check in with Dave Burns, who has more on the driver of the Brown & Sharp Monte Carlo.
Well, Ralph, as Kevin Sawinski continues to power around the LaCrosse Speedway, his closest pursuers in the rookie battle fall by the wayside, and Jack Landis is out for the day in the Maystone Noah Yoder Ford Thunderbird. He was second in rookie points. They had a rear end seal go on the car. The grease leaked toward the on the axle and out to the brake. That was a smoke you might have seen earlier from Jack Landis' car. He is now out for the day.
Dennis Berry, another one of the Pat Shaw Rookie of the Year contenders, struggling in the number 5. You see him going another lap down. He is 2 laps down, back in 23rd. So Kevin Sawinski runs along in 3rd after getting his first pole of the day. The Smokestack crew hoping for good things out of Teddy. Stay with us. We are back to the ASA cars running here at LaCrosse, Wisconsin. Don't forget, coming up later tonight, Race Day live right here on TNN, hosted by Rick Benjamin. That'll be on tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Rick will recap all the weekend's events, including highlights from here today, right here on TNN Motorsports with RB and the boys on Race Day. There's the dock. Yale Conley, the Simonton Windows number 3, is about to go down a lap as Holzhausen closes on him. Holzhausen has almost a full second lead right now on Mike Eddy, but you can see what traffic did to that. As soon as we said that, Steve catches up to the traffic, and here comes that black freight train right up after.
Conley is in 18th position unofficially at this point with 91 laps in, so you can see all but 18 cars have been lapped by Steve Holzhausen, who's hotly pursued by Mike Eddy.
Carol Adamy has pulled a 92 behind the wall, and the 68 of Matt Kenseth, the Lube Tech entry, has also got down pit road, and Dave Burns is making his way over there to find out what is up with that car, so we should be able to have a report for you on Kenseth's problems here shortly. We were expecting good things out of him.
He's won that 200-lap Oktoberfest race here. He's finished twice the last 2 years. So a Wisconsin standout, doing, as you mentioned, some Hooters Cup stuff. Comes back to Wisconsin to run these races on tracks he's very familiar with. And it's too bad as they push the car behind pit wall.
That Oktoberfest race here is one of the bigger events on the LaCrosse schedule. The ASA race, the Granddaddy weekend for fans here at LaCrosse, Wisconsin, as we have a packed grandstand, everybody coming out. Really a great festival atmosphere around this event. Bands playing is warming things up. Nice big breakfast here at the racetrack for all the drivers and crews put out by the local 4-H clubs. Kind of fun. Let's go down and find out what the story is on Matt Kenseth.
Well, things are very hot under the Lube Tech Chevrolet. Matt, what put you out this afternoon?
Well, the Lube Tech left-hander chassis, Wagner Automotive car was running pretty good. We were too tight in the beginning. We came in, freed it up, and we ended up breaking the transmission.
And no plans to get that back out today. If not, what is the next ASA race that you'd like to see you and this team at?
Well, I'd like to see us get to Milwaukee and Kakano. We'll probably at least run them 2 races.
Okay, how much experience do you have at those tracks?
Quite a bit. I was track champion at Kakano the last 2 years in a row, so I really look forward to going there, and we'll get this thing up front there.
Hey, if it's in Wisconsin, guys, Matt Kenseth is going to race it.
Bring the cheese. Bring the cheese. Matt's going to probably take some cheese back with him to Mooresville, where he's currently housing his shop.
Across the cheddar curtain.
That's right. Mike Eddy, he's trying to mix it up here. All the Wisconsin drivers qualified up front, including Kevin Sawinski, and now we find this guy from Michigan trying to medal in there.
Well, you know, it was Seneca that really got in the mix in qualifying, and everybody thought it would be all Wisconsin for the first couple of rows, but Seneca got up in there, and the Bluebird is quite a qualifier. And Seneca, of course, the winningest driver ever in ASA racing. Was he up to 81 victories now, almost matching his car number of 84. And you cannot count out the sneaker. Bob sits in 6th right now, and knowing Bob Seneca, he's pleased with that. He is riding along. Don't forget, we have not had a stop yet for the lead cars. As we close in on the 100-lap mark, we should be seeing that shortly. This is the battle for 10th. Tony Raines and Mike Miller. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a yellow here shortly. We'll probably see everybody dive down and check those tires, see where they're at. If not, it'll be green flag pit stops, and that will really be interesting to see which teams can get their guy back out. Remember, at the beginning of the show, we talked about the things that are going to really count in winning over this 8-week stretch. Preparation, we know all the guys in the front are very good at that. Concentration, we know all the guys up front are really good at that. Teamwork is really maybe going to be the key if we see a lot of green flag pit stops here today. Don't you think, Dave?
Ralph, nobody wants to stop under the green flag on a half-mile oval, that's for sure. But we went to one of the Wisconsin sources, Howie Letow, and we asked Howie, when do you want to come in? He said, definitely after lap 100. But my problem, he said, for Tony Raines is it's loose going into the corner, it's tight in the middle of the corner, it's loose coming off the corner. And I don't know what to do. When was the last time you heard Tony Raines crew chief Howie Letow say that?
I have never, ever heard Howie Letow say, I don't know what to do. But I guarantee you, Howie will try something, and it will definitely do something to that car one way or the other. It might not be the right thing, but it will definitely give Howie a baseline for which direction he needs to go from there. 104 laps are in the books. That yellow flag for these guys, they're praying it comes out soon. Stay with us. The battle for 10th here at the American Speed Association is really becoming a hot fight between Gary St. Amant and, or I should say, between Mike Miller and Tony Raines, and there it is. You can see Holzhausen right behind them. So right now, according to our scoring monitor, only the top 5 cars
Holzhausen and Mike Eddy are running right behind that great pack with Tony Raines, the white 87 and the 18. There's your leader again. It's Tony Raines and Mike Miller have teamed up throughout the season. Seems like those Pontiacs are somewhat magnetized toward each other. They've had some great runs this season, have rubbed some fenders.
Well, there's our yellow right there in turn number 2. 2 cars get together. One of them is Dennis Berry in the 5 car.
Johnny Spa is also involved.
Oh, and look at this. Tony Raines goes in there, and he loses it as well.
Must be some oil down on the racetrack.
There is oil down on the racetrack over there. We can hear from the ASA officials. And that almost bit Tony Raines big time. So Tony will make his way back around as the second caution of the day comes out on lap 113. Raines trying to get back around to where he was up near Mike Miller. So everybody will make their way down pit road now, and this is the break that the leaders were looking for. And it's going to be interesting to see what we see out of the tires out of this. Goodyear has brought the hardest Goodyear Eagles for the ASA series that they make for these guys to run. They're running the 1 series tire on the right side and the 2 series tire on the left, which is just the way they do it in ASA racing, as Steve Holzhausen makes his way down pit road. And some of the teams were saying that they were going to see some very high tire temperatures. Scott Hansen made a run of 20 laps and saw 300 degrees in tire temperatures. Dave, how's it going down there?
Well, Steve Holzhausen brings the Valley View Ford Wagner Automotive Ford Thunderbird into the pits here. They go to the right side. So far, so good. Cleaned a little bit of rubber off of the front grille. And Steve is out and away with no problem. Mike Eddy is out as well. And Bob Sineker beats Steve Holzhausen out. Also, he will not win the drag race down to the end of pit road.
The best pit stop was by Tony Raines' crew, Howie Ladau, and leading that bunch to a tremendous pit stop. Let's take a look at the spin and see what happens to Tony Raines as well.
It's already happening into turn number 1. Johnny Spa on the very outside. Dennis Berry was extremely high heading into the first turn. You see the black marks leading up to his car. Now let's watch Tony Raines go through it. These guys have already spun up into turn number 2. They're even out of camera view. We mentioned how blind turn 1 was.
There was no oil. He got tapped from Mike Miller. They were just racing so close.
One of them racing deals.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Tony Raines, it flat spotted all 4 tires, and under ASA rules, any caution flag pit stop, he can only change 2. We'll find out which 2 he changed.
And smoke coming out of the back of that Tony's Pizza number 5 of Dennis Berry. So we're going to take another quick time out. Stay with us. We got a lot more racing from LaCrosse. The city of LaCrosse received its name from a group of early settlers who came here and found the local Indians playing an interesting game with a long stick which had a basket on it and a ball, which of course was named LaCrosse. That is where the name of LaCrosse, Wisconsin came from. What do you think?
Nice job. You go to the library yesterday? I didn't see you during practice at all yesterday morning, Ralph.
No, man, I read the action line. It was buried in there.
Oh, okay.
There's some of this packed crowd. Absolutely huge crowd here at LaCrosse. They have more than sold out this facility. There are people all over the place crammed into this facility trying to catch the ASA cars who have made their first visit back here in some 15 years. Now, we talked earlier about tire temperatures, Dave, that some of the teams, including Hanson's, were saying that during 20-lap runs during practice and qualifying, they were seeing tire temps around 300 degrees. What are you seeing down there now after some 100 laps of racing?
Well, the Steve Holshausen pits. Dave Marg is a tire specialist, and he reports after checking the temps on the right front and right rear tires of Steve Holshausen's Ford, the tire temps are averaging right around 230. Ralph, on the Steve Holshausen team, they've got the tire setup figured out, and the Goodyear seem to be holding up extremely well.
That's just about where you would want it. Anything around 220 to 230 degrees is pretty good wear. Most of the teams will be running scuffed tires here today and saving the sticker tires for later in the race. In fact, Tony Raines' crew has spent the last few weeks at every racetrack they go to scuffing in another set of tires, preparing for this race here at LaCrosse, because they knew they weren't going to have enough time during practice to scuff in all the sets they wanted. So they've been stocking up on scuffed tires to go racing here at LaCrosse.
To follow that up, Steve Holshausen has scuffed in 2 sets of tires, but he said he may go to stickers depending on how the track wear goes, how those tires wear. He has some sticker tires as well in his pit.
Well, we talked about these two early on. Mike Eddy and Bob Seneker back out front. It's the first time Eddy has had the point here today. You can see the 86 car. Huff got a little loose from Sawinski, and he's going to go down as Brad Loney and Holshausen and the rest, who are all battling for 5th, come charging on by.
14 cars at this point are on lead lap, which is an amazing stat. Only 125 of 300 laps complete, but as we documented, Ralph, these leaders are awfully fast today, and it's a new track for a number of these competitors.
Gary St. Amant has problems in the wins number 7 as he drifts way wide. Doug Mayer now takes the number 11 no-touch machine. Jack Slingston back entry behind the wall.
One week ago, Gary St. Amant felt a little pressured, I believe, and his crew also felt the pressure. He's now running in the 10th position, but I think that point lead had them a little bit worried about how to maintain it, how to keep it. We have to continue to run good, cannot have any errors, and it might have put a little pressure on the team.
There's Smokestad, the Super American number 32, trying to get around Joey Knott and trying to keep Mike Miller behind him. Smokestad's crew has been having a lot of fun laying Super America stickers all over everybody else's car. In fact, I don't know if it's still on there now, but while they were doing the on-track autograph session, which they do at every other ASA race, the front nose of Joe Knott's number 48, which is just in front of Smokestad, was appropriately adorned with a Super America sticker. At least that's the way Smokestad's crew thought about it.
And was the dash of Gary St. Amant's Ford. We'll have to see if they had time to take it out of there.
They're really getting into this. I mean, even Ted's into it, helping to set things up and block the view of the other crew members. We're starting to take this very seriously now. Sticker wars with the ASA.
Ted Smokestad running in 7th position now. In 6th is Joe Knott. 7th, 8th is Dave Sensiba, 9th is Kevin Noodleman, 10th, I believe, is out of picture there, is the Tim Sauter, number 55. The Racing Adventures 55 continues on right behind that pack.
Sawinski reeling in Bob Seneker.
Still looking for a main sponsor on the side panel of his car. Johnsonville Foods had sponsored his car in years past, and they had sponsored him only the first event of the season. For the major sponsor. And here comes Kevin Sawinski with funding from Brown & Sharp to make the pass.
Folks in Lane Automotive and Mechanics Wear helping out, as well as JR Automation helping out Seneca right now. And there is Hanson in the 53. Scott has swapped the bodywork back to the original 53. He was running the red, white, and blue with stars throughout the month of July.
picked up sponsorship for this race, and he said we had to change the decal, so we took most of the other ones off. I know it was a very much a fan favorite, but where's Chevrolet? He's on the car for this race.
He ran those other colors in celebration of the 4th of July and so forth.
Third, fourth, and fifth now.
Now here goes Tony Raines about to go down a lap, and what a shame that's going to be. Tony Raines was having a good run early on. Crew did a great job of getting him back out of the pits, but maybe Howie Letta was not able to get a handling just yet. But boy, he is not going to go down easy. Doing everything he can to hold off the 7-time champ. Mike Eddy puts the Goodwrench Service Pontiac to the inside. Take his time. He knows he's going to eventually get it. And we got Randy Ruhlman up along the wall in turn 3.
Randy Ruhlman. Purple and orange preformed line Ford has done a 360 up in turn 3.
So Randy will bring out the next caution here today. And the rest of the cars might come in, take on the other side tires. We'll let you know when we come back. Except for Steve Holzhausen and Joe Knott did dive back down pit road to take on right side or left side tires now. And Bob Seneker has made a second stop, and they're checking the right rear corner of the car. I'm not sure what the problem is.
He lost the right front brake at Jennerstown Speedway, and with the wheel off and no tools out there, they might have just been checking to see if the brake line is connected.
Well, Dave Burns will be making his way over there to find out about it. There goes Dave. And they're going to put the tire back on and send him back out, it looks like. Well, those guys are all communicating to each other by utilizing their racing electronics headsets. And you can get ready to win your set. Make sure you write down an address that we're going to give you here, because Racing Electronics, the official communications equipment supplier of the American Speed Association, is offering you the opportunity to win a Uniden Bearcat scanner at each ASA telecast on TNN. Along with the scanner, you get a 1-year Racers Frequency membership. To enter the drawing, send your name and address on a postcard to the address you see there, Racing Electronics, P.O. Box 26792, Charlotte, North Carolina 28221. Now this week's winner is Chuck Minion from Vista, California. Congratulations, Chuck. Enjoy your scanner from the good folks at Racing Electronics as we go back to green. So your leader now is Steve Holzhausen. Joe Knott runs in second. Of course, as we told you, they stayed out on the racetrack. There is, about 6 cars back to third, which is Kevin Sawinski. And there is Bob Seneker back out on the racetrack. Dave, what was the problem?
Well, we're with John DeCook, the crew chief for Bob Seneker. John, what was Bob's problem?
Well, we've got a little brake fluid leak on the rear on the Lane Automotive Ford Thunderbird. We got the master cylinder full of brake fluid, and we'll probably come in again on the next caution and finish it up. We should be okay.
Sounds like they're good to go for the rest of the afternoon, guys.
So, Jim, as you said, brake problems form on the front at Jennerstown, and problems again only with the rear brakes here at LaCrosse.
If Bob falls off the pace, that will be the reason. He did fall off the pace at Jennerstown. It was very uncharacteristic at a track he swept the victories at in 1995.
Holzhausen back out front, and this is a guy that when he runs well at an ASA race and he is in a position to lead, he usually does like he is doing here today. Gets out front and just stays there most of the day, stays up front. He's not the kind of driver like we've talked about with Mike Eddy and Bob Seneker, where they can linger back and then position themselves for the win at the end. Holzhausen is usually right at the front. In fact, he's one of only a few drivers to have led every lap for a win, doing that a couple years ago at Anderson, leading off 400 laps. There's Hansen and Mike Eddy battling their way up. That is the fight for fourth. And Brad Loney and Mike Miller you saw a glimpse of.
This caution helped Tony Raines immensely. It was the third caution of the afternoon, and he was at the very tail end of lead lap. He made up quite a few track position places because only lead lap cars can pit on the first time by that the pits are open. So he is now right back in the thick of things after spinning to avoid and almost losing a lap. So Raines could be the comeback story here.
Battle for 6 between Loney and Miller. And you see the mid-race recap. 5 different leaders, 7 times they've swapped the top spot. Right now there are 14 of the 36 cars on the lead lap. We've had 2 cautions, 19 laps completed under yellow. Of course, remember with ASA racing, there is a yellow near the end of the race. Those laps, the last 5 laps, cannot be counted under yellow. We have to complete those under green. Mike Miller has problems as he tries to find the handling going through 1 and 2.
Again, this is only 15 laps or so after pit stop, so they may have made the incorrect guess at this point in the race. It's so important for the crew chiefs to have that experience. Carl Hyland, the crew chief on the car cop Pontiac, burned his hand yesterday. That doesn't hamper his thought process, but the crew is very concerned, and good to see Carlos here today. He had some ointment that he found at the veterinarian's office that actually helped him heal quickly for today's race.
Mike Eddy gets around Scott Hansen to take over 4th position. Sperling in the number 15, the Ultra Custom Wheels back entry, the Eaglewood sponsored car, has had problems as well here today, Dave.
Well, we're waiting for Brandon to break out again like he did at I-70 and head up toward the front of the pack, but Brandon, not today. You had some new equipment under the hood, but I guess that's gone sour for you.
I don't know what's going on. It sounded like the header cracked or broke. There's a chance we might be able to get out, just run around for points. But we've had some bad luck lately, and we'll shake it soon.
Okay, Brandon's waiting to get back out right now. They may be able to get it back out this afternoon, like he said. They have another 5 motors waiting for them to be delivered. So for this long race stretch that we've been talking about, motor-wise, they should be good if they can just get this one under the hood right now to work for them.
That is a young driver who has been very fast when the equipment works for him. When the equipment is not there, Brandon has really struggled. When it is there, he is very fast. And that takes us under the category of preparation. They need to get that car prepared well so their driver can take advantage of it.
Since joining the Randy and Mary Illinois and Through Motorsports team, he's run 6 races and has only finished 2 of them.
Tony Raines and Mike Miller battling it out for 7th.
Once again, these Pontiacs are connected at the bumper. Figuratively, as they run nose to tail into turn number 1, the narrowest portion of the racetrack here on this big half-mile, 0.545 of a mile here in LaCrosse, Wisconsin.
Every Wednesday night for years, Mike Miller used to race up here with Nick Trickle and a handful of others. In fact, as we were talking about it, Mike was one of only 3 drivers who was in today's field who were here when that first ever ASA race was completed. Mike ran in a Camaro backed by the Dairyland Transport Company.
Big orange number 18. It actually was red back then.
And he finished 18th that day. Bob Seneker came home in his Baker Engineering Camaro with a 6th. Mike Eddy, the Baker Engineering Howe Enterprises Camaro, was 9th. In fact, the field was made up of all Camaros except there was 1 Firebird and 1 Cavalier. Butch Lindley's Mountain Dew Cavalier.
That was one wicked ride. It was so weird looking, you didn't know if there was a template for it or if indeed it was just smaller than the rest, and that's why it was so fast.
You watch that battle continue for 7th. With the names that were here that day, it's amazing when you look back. Pat Schauer, who our Rookie of the Year award is named after, was 7th on that afternoon. Darrell Waltrip was 8th. Tom Repner, Brian Repner's father, of course, Brian, our champion last year, came home in 10th. Bob Strait was 11th. Butch Miller was 12th, and Jim Weber was 13th. Alan Kulwicki, former Winston Cup champion, was 16th. Joe Shear was 20th, and Butch Lindley, as I said, was 21st. 24 cars racing that day here at LaCrosse. 36 AC-Delco Challenge Series cars running under the ASA banner here this afternoon. Some 15 years later, Mike Miller looking to improve on that 18th place finish from a long time back, looking for his 2nd win in 1996, picking up a victory at I-70 Speedway. Look at how he is picking up that left front tire. Let's see if we can keep an eye on Mike Miller.
Right side of the car is squatting down on the turns. He's carrying it through, and as you mentioned, Ralph, he's lifting the left front a la a dirt car.
All right, here's that battle for second. We'll get back to Mike Miller in just a second here because this battle for second is really heated up as Sawinski has reeled in Joe Knott. Now, this is where we're going to find out about Joe Knott's experience. We know that Sawinski knows how to hustle around this racetrack. Yes, he is a rookie, but he is a champion in a lot of other divisions and has a lot of laps at this place. Joe Knott really has about 4 or 5 years of ASA racing under his belt. That's about it.
Sawinski in his rookie season at ASA, a lot of laps here. Came to the AC-Delco Challenge Series fresh off an Artco Series championship. Now looks to the outside of the Ford.
Mike Eddy lays in wait right behind him. He'll let this battle play out for a little bit, then pick his line just like that.
It is said that Mike Eddy may not be the most patient driver, but when he has the equipment to pass you, he certainly won't take too long to do that. Looks like he's equal to the task of the one car of Sawinski.
You know, he might not be real patient, and I wouldn't say Bob Seneker is the same way as you watch Mike take the spot away from Sawinski. They might not be very patient, but they're pretty smart about picking their lines and when to make the move. And that's something that just comes out of years of experience of doing it. You watch both of them, they don't wait around too long, but they don't just dive right in there and get themselves in an ugly position.
Joe Knott now has a mirror full of the GM Goodwrench Service Pontiac. Heading to the third turn, that's second, third, fourth, and fifth now with Scott Hansen joining that foursome. And look at Eddy. No time wasted whatsoever. Goes to the outside of Joe Knott. Now getting on the brakes a little bit too hard there, going into one.
Talked to Howard Thomas, the crew chief for Mike Eddy earlier today. We were talking about the tire temperatures and so forth. And I said, well, Howard, what are you seeing out of tire temperatures? Classic statement out of this team. And this is the way this team operates, as hard as it is to believe. He says, well, we don't check tire temperatures. I said, you don't? He says, no, we don't check them. It's one less thing to worry about. Dave?
Well, Ralphie checked the left side tires they brought off in that last pit stop, and I guess he must have been just giving me kind of a generalization because I said, how are the temperatures? And he said, they're just fine. So if they don't check them, they must have felt them or something, and they say they're good to go.
So Steve Holzhausen back up front, car 78, as the yellow flag comes out.
Turn 2, Bob Dorstwitz loops the Lane Automotive Engineered Polymer Products Chevrolet in turn number 2.
Bob was a part of the first yellow here today, and he will be a part of the third yellow as well. This time, though, Bob's got some bodywork problems. So the number 25 will make its way to pit road. 171 of 300 laps scheduled here today, already in the books. Stay with us. We are back to LaCrosse, where we are under yellow once again due to Bob Dorsowitz's spin over in turn number 2.
Cars that came down pit lane were Kevin Sawinski, Scott Hansen. Bob Seneker was the third car in, last one out. Steve Holzhausen, Joe Knott, Mike Miller, Billy Turner, and as I mentioned, Holzhausen all came down pit lane.
We were talking about Mike Miller earlier. How are things with the car cop machine, Dave?
A lot worse if it weren't for a little something called Corona Lanolin Rich Antiseptic Ointment. Now, Jim referred earlier to the fact that Carl Hyland had hurt his hand, and he'd taken apart the rear end of Mike Miller's car yesterday after practice. Rear end grease spilled all over his right hand and blistered it badly. Now, they had it on ice and water for a long time. He had his hand in the cooler as they were trying to get the thing cooled down and iced up and everything. But then someone said, hey, you ought to try this ointment, and Carl did. And this particular ointment says for horses, cattle, small animals, and pets. Now, we're not sure which category Carl Hyland falls into on any given day, but we do know one thing. That right hand of his is much better for the Corona Lanolin Rich ointment.
Follow up on that, Ralph. That stuff's made in Marietta, Georgia. They got it from the veterinarian who lives next to the pharmacist who they talked to about how to treat the burns in a day's time. So, little humor going on down there, and I thought maybe we'd hear from the horse's mouth himself, Carl Hyland, but apparently he's too busy trying to get ready to win this race.
So the ASA field under yellow and behind the Pontiac pace car here at LaCrosse. 176 laps are down. Mike Eddy is considered the leader of the field at this point. Brad Loney is second. Tony Raines has fought his way all the way back to third. Dave Sensible is fourth, and Ted Smokestead puts the Super America car in fifth right now.
This is the point in the race where it's going to pay for the drivers who stayed out. They'll know what the cars have been doing. They will get some more heat in those tires, but the cars that pitted, we mentioned earlier, that pitted on this previous caution here, we'll see how quickly they come through the field because a lot of cars are still on this racetrack. 36 cars started. I believe only 4 have been, or 5, excuse me, have been put behind pit wall. It's very difficult to get through here as everyone's getting a little bit wider and the cars are getting a little more heat in them.
Well, Mike is really going to have to take advantage of this 8-race swing to climb back up into the point standings, and this is the time of year where he can really do that. He finished 4th in the points last year, was not pleased with that at all, and if Mike can get a good run through these few races and pick up a lot of points, it is really going to set up a tremendous fight for the championship as we work our way through the tail end of the season and the season finale at Kenly, North Carolina, the Southern National Speedway, where we will wrap things up. And of course, you'll be able to see that race live right here on TNN Motorsports as we crown another AC-Delco Challenge Series champion. 4 different drivers have held the top slot in the points so far in 1996, and I think we'll probably see that change a couple more times the way this season has gone before the end of the year.
Mike Eddy with a win last week did not advance in the points. He's still 10th. Bob Seneker dropped 2 spots by finishing 17th after suffering through brake problems at Jennerstown. So the veterans in ASA know what it takes, but it's such an unfortunate thing for Seneker. Drops to 17th, loses 2 spots in the points, and they have more brake problems today. He currently is the final car in 14th on lead lap.
Seneker and Eddy and Hansen are the only drivers to have won more than 1 race so far this year as well. All 3 of those drivers with 2 victories to their credits here in 1996. Here's Holzhausen coming back through the pack, Dave. He's looking strong again.
Would have thought, Ralph, they would change the right side tires to give him good fresh rubber on that side of the car to go to the end. But instead, Toby Duneman, his crew chief, says Steve likes it when we change both rear tires. And so I said, you chose the exact same stagger then because the car looked pretty fast. And he said, that's exactly right. We changed the rear tires, but not to increase or decrease the handling of anyway on the car, but just because Steve wanted fresh rubber back there and not just on the right side.
I asked Steve if he had gotten a good night's sleep last night because I knew his nerves were going to be way up because he really wants to win this race here in front of his home crowd. And he said his wife kept him out late into the night with all the fans out here in the camping area because she knew the same thing. And she figured, well, a few hours of sleep will do him a lot less harm than the fact of his nerves keeping him awake all night long. So Steve stayed out and enjoyed himself with all the fans here at his home track as he gets right into that rear bumper of Joe Knott. It seems to have worked.
Holzhausen was concerned, though, because Scott Hansen also had a few beverages last night, and Steve said, hey, when you have a couple drinks before a race, I start to get worried. So maybe they're giving each other some a little mind game going on there before the race, but it doesn't seem to be affecting Steve Holzhausen's performance today. Lap 187, he's never been out of the top 5 except on pit stops.
So Holzhausen continues to fight on as everybody chases this guy. The 7-time champ, Mike Eddy, has the Goodwrench Service Pontiac out front. We continue racing here on TNN at LaCrosse. This is a great battle going on between Joe Knott and Bob Seneker. Remember, Seneker is battling brake problems. And this is the fight for 12th. It is, of course, the last 2 cars in the lead lap, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we'll look through our notes during that caution period, and 13 cars remain on lead lap. Seneker with that problem. Joe Knott, though, after those pit stops, has not advanced, and he's actually lost track position to 11th running Steve Holzhausen.
A lot of conversations coming into this race that this would be a very racy racetrack with 2 good grooves of racing, and we have certainly seen that here today. Folks at the LaCrosse Speedway have done a great job in preparing this facility for the first visit of the American Speed Association in some 15 years. And look at, this is a perfect example right here. Bob Seneker running in a higher groove than Joe Knott. And we've seen 3 wide racing coming out of the turns. It's been a very competitive racetrack and tremendous crowd turnout. I think it's not going to be 15 more years before AC-Delco Challenge Series racing takes place here again. This looks like, from what we've seen here, this will become a regular stop on the current tour.
The track was repaved just 2 seasons ago, Ralph, and when it first got repaved, the tires were getting eaten alive. Now it seems like it's a perfect situation for ASA to come to this racetrack and put on an AC-Delco Challenge Series event, a 300-lapper. When you walk into this place, when I first saw it, I thought, boy, it'd be a great racetrack for the AC-Delco Challenge Series to run, and I'm glad it came through with Chuck Deary and the Robbins family getting together to put it on the schedule.
With 100 laps to go, the sneaker was able to take over 12th, and this guy, the Polar Bear, continues to run up front. Mike Eddy. Could he go 2 in a row here and really start to put the pressure on everybody else as this fight for the championship starts to get really interesting? We get deep into this 8-race deal now. Brad Loney, who has also spent a lot of time coming over from his home in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which is not too far from here, runs in second. And Dave Burns, you've got more on his story.
Well, Kurt Beckler is standing by here. And Kurt, you guys stayed out last time. You had the setup you want to go to the end?
Yeah, the times are staying pretty consistent. We're looking good to the end. The Bun Saver Flex Steel HW Pontiac running pretty steady. I don't know if we have anything for the 88 or the 78, but we'll see what we can do with them.
Now, can you pick up anything from what you've seen them doing? I mean, handling-wise, obviously you can't change motors at this point, but is there anything else you'll try to beat them?
No, we just got to listen to what the driver says. We've been a little tight all day, been adjusting for that with the tire stagger, and that's all we can do, just see what we can do at the end.
Okay, guys, Brad Loney will try to hang on there in second until the end of the day, maybe move up to first.
Thank you, Dave. Loney continues to circle in second. So look at Randy Ruhlman and Tony Raines coming after him. That is not a fight for position. Ruhlman way back in 25th and Raines up in third. And there's car number 14, Noodleman. Talked a lot about it. We expected good things out of this local driver, Kevin Noodleman, having a pretty good run here today. The number 14th is 1 lap down, back in 14th position. So Noodleman having a pretty good day here in front of his hometown crowd and his ASA racing. Not so good for Mike Garvey. Stay with us. You're taking a look at the leader right now, Mike Eddy, dealing with Dennis Mary's number 5 as Eddy continues to lap through traffic. We did want to update you that the 03 of Johnny Spa, the Cedar Rapids native, is out of the race due to an engine. There is the battle for third as Dave Sensiba tries to get to the inside of the clean burn Pontiac of Tony Raines to take away the third position.
West Michigan Chevrolet dealer tied in fourth in points with the drivers racing next to Tony Raines. Raines moved up 2 spots in points, wants to jump and leapfrog past Sensiba, but Sensiba has other thoughts as he charges down the backstretch.
And Smokestack getting into this as well as they work around the outside of the Zero Hero, Tom Jones. Palace Restaurant Days Inn back number 0. Jonesy does a good job of getting out of the way, allowing this group of faster cars to come around him. Tom getting his first win on the AC-Delco Challenge Series Tour a couple years back at Jennerstown.
Season closer in 94.
Dave Sensiba moves around cleanly in front of Raines. He will now set sail after Brad Loney. Really good run out of Ted Smokestad here today, and I think this is just what that team needs. They've had some competitive runs where they've been in the thick of things, but they haven't been able to close one with a solid finish. And if he can stay inside the top 5, this will certainly be one of the best runs we have ever seen out of Ted Smokestad in that Super America car, and that has really got to make that group feel really good.
Coming off a 10th place at 10th place at Hawkeye Downs, 11th place 1 week ago at Jennerstown. So indeed, this team has turned the corner.
Oh, and Holzhausen has problems in the 78. It looks like a cut tire because it is down on the right front. He has made his way down pit road. There he is. You can see the right front tire is down on the ground, and Noodleman made his way in as well, and he is stopped behind the wall. So all of a sudden, some major things have changed here with the American Speed Association lead pack cars. What a shame for that car right there. And it looks like Smokestad now gets to the inside of Raines, and that will put him into fourth. As we go to break, we did want to pass along our sincere condolences to the family of Emilio Bellici, who was a member of the Smokestad crew who passed away recently. Well, for the folks at OTC Tools, Paul Payne has done everything he could to get them a really good billboard here at LaCrosse Speedway. Only problem is it's from his hood, and no, he didn't place it there, folks. It is actually on the other side of the racetrack, stuffed in the tree. Because just as we went to break, Paul slammed the wall over in turn 3 pretty ferociously. Just in front of Mike Eddy, you'll see him right in the wall in the left-hand corner of the screen.
He hit the wall right there. Look how hard and how high that car goes. Nosed it almost directly into the wall.
There goes the hood like a frisbee into the trees that surround this racetrack.
Hard hit for Paul Payne. First race out of Mountain, Minnesota. He's run the Winston Racing Series regional stuff. Finished third a year ago, running Elko, LaCrosse, Cedar Rapids, and Rockford Speedways. And he was really excited about his shot here in ASA.
Well, this is our 5th caution of the day. Steve Holzhausen now is, by the way, down 2 laps, so that tire going down on him has virtually killed his chances of a win. Mike Eddy continues to lead over Brad Loney. Dave Sensiba is 4th. St. Amant is 5th. Tony Roper, Bob Seneker hanging in there. Raines, Smokestad, Sawinski, Hansen, and the rest. Stay with us. Well, we're happy to report that Paul Payne was able to get out of the car. He is okay. The hood, that's going to need a little work, but Dave, I think outside of that, Paul's okay.
Yeah, he is indeed. Paul talked to me just for a moment and said that he was all right. The Howe chassis, he wanted to say, was built very strong. He does believe that his motor went and put fluid all over the back end. He locked up the rear wheels, and that's what sent him up into the wall. I asked him, Paul, is there anybody you want to tell at home that you're okay? And he said, nope, everybody's here in the stands.
Here's that replay once again at that far left corners. Look at how high that car got up onto the wall. In fact, the only time I've seen an ASA car try to climb a wall like that was a couple years back. Bob Seneker at I-70 Speedway.
Right.
Only it was the rear end that was dangling over the abyss, if you will.
I think the drive shaft kept him in that thing.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, this racetrack sits up a little high in the corners over there. Had Paul gone over the edge, he might have been hanging that car up in the tree because he would have been up there a little bit. Let's check back in with Dave Burns again.
Well, one of the guys who had hoped to do much better here this afternoon was Kevin Noodleman. He's been the track champion here at LaCrosse 5 different occasions. And Kevin, we know you didn't want to talk to us this soon today. How good was the car before you had to come out?
Well, the car was excellent. I only pushed it just a very few laps. I was just riding there. We were waiting to pit with about 60 left, and then we were going to go out and go all out. We ended up dropping a dry sump belt. I really got to thank Bud Gevins and the whole crew for bringing a car up that we didn't have to lay a wrench on. It felt great altogether. And I want to thank Sitco, Dutch Mill Trucking and Winds, and especially Ron Schendel for putting this deal together for me on Tuesday.
Yeah, now you guys told me yesterday that in fact you did roll it off the truck and it was just perfect. This was one of your first experiences in an ASA car. The car felt pretty good to you, even though they are maybe a little bit tippier than your local late model car.
Yes, it did. You know, I expected a little more, but it was by far easier than my car, my late model car that I drive.
Kevin, what are your plans with this team for the remainder of the 96 season? Anything else that you're going to run with them?
Well, I don't know. I'm just hoping we ran good enough. Maybe we can get some money to run some more shows this year at the end. And, you know, I'd really like to run for Rookie of the Year next year if we can get something together.
That'd be great. We'd love to see Kevin Noodleman running with the AC-Delco Challenge Series on a full-time basis as we go back to green. 70 laps yet to go here at LaCrosse Speedway. The 300 that were scheduled. Mike Eddy continues to lead. Brad Loney sits in third. Dave Sensiba is fourth. Gary St. Amant, or I should say Sensiba is third. St. Amant all the way up to fourth. And Tony Roper having a good day. He sticks around. He was running in fifth in car number 10, the Child's Tire back machine.
Roper's having a great day. He's not finished in the top 5 in I don't know how long. I don't know if he's ever finished top 3, but he's looking forward to a podium run.
Look at this group. This pack was 3 wide as they went diving down into turn number 1, and as they come out of 4, they might do it again. Look at Smokestad in that 32, and there is nothing like feeling confident about your car on a particular day, and that is the way Ted feels here today about that Super America machine. He is really feeling very, very racy out there today. You can see it. He's been talking about it all weekend. Billy Turner dives to the bottom and get out of the way to allow Mike Miller to charge through there in the 18 as Miller continues to fight with Joe Knott deep in the pack. There's Aaron Huff in that 86 celebrating his 7-year anniversary with his wife here this weekend. And Knott tries to make it 3 wide as Sawinski goes to the outside of Huff. Aaron had him all around him.
Hansen is 9th. Sawinski's running in 10th. 11th is Mike Miller. 12th is Joe Knott. Last car on lead lap is Joe Knott's Raby Toyota Ford.
Bill Baird was sneaking into that picture as well. He's celebrating his 47th birthday this weekend here with us, as well as Brad Loney now all over the backside of Mike Eddy, as that is the lead battle here, separated by less than a second on the racetrack. And Holzhausen, you can see how fast he is. He is laps down to these two, but he is back out in front. He will gain a lap back now.
And Brad Loney really came on quickly behind Mike Eddy, so perhaps Mike Eddy was getting pressured by Holzhausen. Maybe it's the other way around.
Dave, the way I have it figured out, Holzhausen was 2 laps down. He will pick up a lap back here if he can get all the way back around. You think he might stand a chance of making up that extra lap?
Well, the car is just that good this afternoon, Ralph. There's no doubt about it. The problem that put him out, the tire didn't actually go down until the valve stem broke. It was not a rubber problem. Rather, it was the valve stem on the tire. Hey, quickly, as long as you're mentioning anniversaries and birthdays, Ralph, remember to sing happy birthday to the guy sitting next to you there. Mr. Trado turned 30 years young yesterday.
You know, I knew you were keeping something from me this weekend. I knew you wouldn't bring that up. That's okay. I won't mention to you that mine's coming up later this year. And I'm not going to tell you when
August 24th or 23rd or something like that.
Or something like that.
We'll figure it out. I'll call my friends at TNN. They'll tell me.
So Mike Eddy, the polar bear, out front leading this one. The black number 88 is your leader. That car just in front of him, that green Menards number 78, is actually 1 lap down, but that's the car we've been concentrating on, Steve Holzhausen. And the one thing Eddy does not want to do is let Holzhausen get another lap back. He will do everything he can to keep Holzhausen underneath him as long as he can.
Holzhausen needs a caution right now.
There's a look at how Mike Eddy's season has gone. And here's that battle between the blue 84 of Bob Seneker and the white number 4 of Dave Sensiba. That is for 3rd. The Stinker putting himself back in position here today. He has fought his way back up. This will put him into 3rd. He can secure this. And apparently that brake problem has been cured, whatever was wrong with it. You mentioned earlier brake problems for him at Jennerstown on the front. Here today, suffering brake problems on the rear of the car.
There's a big difference with front brake and rear brake. I would think at a racetrack like this in Jennerstown, a flat oval route, it's a lot harder on the front brakes. You got to woe that car down, especially in the narrow turn 1. Seneker instantly found the problem last race, lost a couple laps, finished 17th. Here today, they've been able to either pinch that line off or fill up the master cylinder and get it back going again. And I don't think that right rear brake is playing as much of a factor when he's trying to woe himself down into 1 and hit the brakes going into 3.
All these fights that you're looking at right here are all for position. You see Raines getting to the inside of Roper. Boy, this track, I got to tell you, is quickly becoming one of my favorites, as it has really provided us for some great short track stock car racing here today. There have been fights and battles and 2 wide and 3 wide racing all over this half mile here today. With the nation's premier short track stock car series with American Speed Associates. Just been great.
Tony Raines in the clean burn Pontiac. Tony Roper in the Child's Tire Chevrolet, his crew chief. Kevin McCurdy wants to definitely pass along a happy birthday to his son, Matthew, who's 14 today. Kevin McCurdy's son, Matthew. Also, the right rear tire changer in that crew celebrating a birthday today.
It's going to be interesting. We are just about to the 250 lap portion of this race, and with 50 to go, a lot of guys might be hoping for one more yellow to dive in there and put on another set of right side tires. If they do they go go with the scuff tire or do they go with the sticker tire? Everybody was saying that scuffs would be what you would pull out at the end, or that stickers would be what you pull out at the end. But if the car's running real well on scuffs, maybe you leave those on. And if there's a 50-lap dash.
We're under bright sunshine, as it was the case yesterday. All day long, it was bright sunshine like this. A lot of rubber went down on the track very quickly. When it came to qualifying, Kevin Sawinski is one of the first 10 or 12 cars out.
Oh, and we got our yellow. We got Bill Baird and Dennis Berry around over in turns 1 and 2. That's exactly where Dennis Berry had his problems earlier today. Dennis spun over there, I believe that was our second caution of the day. This is our 6th. And again, he's able to keep it off the wall. So the Tony's Frozen Pizza Machine having his problems, and Bill Baird's Saturn number 26 has some problems as well. Stay with us. We'll let you know the strategy, how it plays out. Gary St. Amont's sister looks on, hoping her brother can maybe get a win here today. The 1996 AC-Delco Challenge Series on TNN is brought to you in part by Win Oil Company, makers of quality automotive car care products. Remember, when it wins, it works. By your GM Goodwrench service dealer, we want your business. By Pep Boys, 26,000 items at the guaranteed low price. Tires and service too, everything but gas. And by Heinz 57 steak sauce. Let's eat. The skies are sunny over the Speedway here this afternoon. They were overcast and a potential threat of rain as we all look at that. There's some aggressive racing fans.
Tattoos, I hope, stay on a while.
Permanent fans of ASA might as well have permanent markings on your body to say so. Well, Brad Loney is up in front of this pack. There is the Bun Saver Flex Steel H&W Pontiac number 33. Brad was involved with a huge grand opening for the new plant in Freeman, South Dakota, where they produced the Bun Savers, which is a seat cushion. A lot of big game hunters and people who do a lot of hunting and sports.
That's where the application came from for hunters that are very much in the trees for 8-10 hours at a crack.
Thank you. You knew I was struggling with that. Appreciate that. Dave Burns, anything you want to add to this as far as strategy, the final 50?
Well, you were wondering earlier about scuffs and stickers. I checked with both the Mike Eddy crew and the Ted Smokestack crew. They were the highest running cars that came in during that particular pit stop. Smokestack's crew went to the left side and they put on scuffs. Eddie's crew went to the right side and they put on stickers. So I guess toss a coin there as far as that goes. Meanwhile, at the back of the pack, Dennis Lampman came into the pits and he stopped for water. They handed him a water on the run and he threw it out by the time he exited pit lane there. The Gentle Giant doesn't usually get overheated, but guys, it has really gotten humid down here today. It is very warm.
Trust me, not a whole lot cooler up here in the booth today, Dave.
Really? No. Really, Dave?
No. Top 5 is Brad Loney. Bob Seneker placed perfectly for the sneaker, exactly where he would want to be at this point. Dave Sensiba in 3rd. Gary St. Amant has a good run back to 4th, and Tony Raines sits back in 5th.
6th is Scott Hansen, and 7th is Kevin Sawinski. 8th is Joe Knott. They have those 3 cars are now together with Yale Conley and Lap Machine. Ted Smokestack is running in right behind Knott in 9th, and 10th is Mike Eddy. Last 2 cars on lead lap, Mike Miller and Tony Roper.
So the pace car about to pull off, and green flag is out for Brad Loney. 255 laps are in the books. Oh, and St. Amant, big problems coming off at 2. That'll cost him as Raines will sneak by, and Hansen sees that door opening up. Nothing to do with patience at this point at all. Now you've got to lay it all out on the line. Positioning is going to be everything. Can Mike Eddy race his way back through all the lap traffic to catch up to the leaders? Can the leaders distance themselves away from each other? Brad Loney takes the point for the first time here today. We have not seen what he could do up there all by himself. Bob Seneker in that 84 is right where he would like to be at this point. He will stay glued to the bumper of Loney. If he feels that he's faster than him, he will take the position and try to run and hide from the rest of the field. comes Mike Eddy to the inside of the birthday boy, Bill Baird. Now he's got to deal with the 55 and the 81.
Believe it or not, this is only the third race that Brad Loney has led. He's only led 20 laps this season. So for the Flex Steel folks and everyone else back in Iowa, they're pretty excited.
Aaron Huff goes around, so we've got another yellow. So Loney did not need to see that. Every time they bunch the field back up, that only helps out everybody behind him. Tim Sauter is the driver of the 55 who was just in front of Mike Eddy. Of course, Tim's dad, Jim, was the first winner of an ASA race here at LaCrosse Speedway. Jay Sauter, of course, had spent a lot of years running with us, and Tim Sauter has been racing with the American Speed Association over the last couple of years. Well, we're going to take one more quick break. 259 laps up on the board. We'll be racing once again when we come back to LaCrosse, Wisconsin. Harold Fair has brought the CarQuest Auto Parts AC-Delco back to entry behind the wall. They're changing rear tires on that car. Maybe he thought he had one going down, wasn't sure which one, so they're going to change both of those. We will see the green next time by. We're missing three big names on the AC-Delco Challenge Series Tour this week. Mike Koford not here with us, the former place kicker for the San Francisco 49ers and Indianapolis Colts, and Rick Miller, who's been having such a great season. He is not here, and Eddie Sharp still not back with us. We expect to see Eddie at 2 races from now at Grand Rapids, Michigan. Not sure when we'll see Rick Miller and Mike Koford back with us just yet. So we go back to green.
Brad Loney becomes the leader of the race just a few laps ago, and he's going to try to put himself some distance here between himself and Bob Seneker is what I was trying to say. Tony Raines, though, has battled back. Dave Sensiba is running strong. Now Hansen is going to turn up the wick. He's the point leader, but he has not said, I'm worried about leading the points. He said, if I get a top 3, top 5 finish out of this race and every race in the stretch run, it's exactly what we're after. We don't necessarily need to win. He might tell you different on camera, but he told me yesterday as I was walking through the pit area that they were looking for a good run today, and indeed he's in the top 5 in the Wares Chevrolet AFCO Racing Products 53.
There's Hansen trying to get to the inside of Sensiba. That fight continuing for 4th. Hansen looking for a way around him. Pair of Monte Carlos going at it. And just behind them, you see that orange number 7, the Wins Ford Thunderbird of Gary St. Amant. And we talked earlier as Hansen goes to the inside of Sensiba. Good racing there, and Hansen cleanly gets past him. Talked earlier about what Gary St. Amant needs to do at this point in the season. He is second in points, right behind Hansen. He cannot afford to allow Hansen to get way out in front of him. And Gary did a great job today. He qualified 15th. Hansen qualified 2nd, and you can see Gary has put himself right in position to hang on to that points championship fight. And look at Mike Eddy now as he gets to the inside of Joe Knott. That gives him 8th position. Eddy was at 10th just moments ago. And here comes Sawinski now. He tries to get to the inside of St. Amant. Boy, there is racing side by side all over this half mile.
Through turn 3 and 4, you saw that white stuff on the racetrack. That was some oil dry put down. There has been 2 grooves established since that caution, unfortunately for Paul Payne, a number of laps ago. Lap 218 is when he found the fence over there. So that has been cleared away enough to run 2 grooves. And they said they couldn't run 1 and 2 side by side, but we've seen the veterans of the American Speed Association and the AC-Delco Challenge Series run extremely fast side by side through those corners. Here again off of turn 4.
We talked about corner speed at the beginning of this deal. Did you see how fast Mike Eddy got through those 2 turns down in 3 and 4? He just slid right up underneath Gary St. Amant. A lot of confidence that he can get on the gas hard in the middle of the turn, and that Pontiac is going to stick. So Winsky now cuts to the bottom side. Oh, that one's going to be tight.
What do you think is Spotter saying? Sense of a Spotter saying?
Don't look to the left.
Here he comes.
There he is.
Yeah, there he goes.
Guess what? The black is not about to just go away fast. It's going to look like one long black car because Eddy is coming right with him. Mike Eddy charges past Sensiba as well. Of course, Dave Sensiba's dad, Bob, is a crew member for Mike Eddy.
Longtime racer in Michigan as well.
Now Mike Eddy will go after the Pat Shaw, Rookie of the Year points. And look at how well Mike Eddy gets through the turns.
He's able to put that right to the bottom and turn left and go.
It really gets on the gas in the middle of the corner. You can see that Pontiac just jumping out in front. Mike allows it to settle, and then he just pushes past Sawinski. That gives him fifth position. So now the battle for the lead starts to heat up a little bit, and then look at the fight for third. I'm telling you, there is great racing all over this track right now. Hansen to the bottom side of Rain, and you see the lead duo just in front of this.
It's where the crew chiefs and the experienced crew members here in the American Speed Association really get their money's worth, because they have made the calls. You see Scott Hansen able to hold it down lower, as has Mike Eddy. Lynn Miller, Hansen's tire guy, has to be smiling at how he's able to turn through the corners here. There's Hansen in the Metro Milwaukee Auto Auction Chevrolet. Gets around Rains. Hansen now in third.
Tip of the hat to Howie Leto. We talked earlier about how he felt so lost and how to get Tony Raines back into the thick of this thing. They had some serious problems early on. Howie and Tony have worked well together here today. I think it's a sign that that team, the teamwork that we talked about earlier as well, paying off with that group. They have fought their way back into contention here today, and they sit fourth in this fight, which could change very easily the way we've been seeing this go.
Inside 25 laps in the LaCrosse 300. Loney and Seneca, and Seneca appears to close up at will to the back end of the H&W Pontiac.
Loney could really utilize this win. It would be his first ever career ASA win at basically his second home track. Stay with us. We're coming back for the finish after this. To LaCrosse, Wisconsin, with a brand new leader. You can see that Brad Loney has slipped to second, and Mike Eddy is about to take that spot away from him. He has been coming through the field like a freight train. Bob Seneca is your new leader, and here's how it happened.
Set it up a half a lap before it happened. He got inside of Brad Loney just enough on the front stretch to nudge Loney to the outer groove. Loney then gave him room to race. And off of turn number 2, Seneca snuck on by. Loney quickly tucked back in behind.
That was just a classic short track stock car pass. I mean, we talk about bumping and banging and what is clean bumping and banging and what is not. That, I don't think Brad Loney would have any problems with that move at all. That was just good short track stock car racing there.
And 2 laps ago, Mike Eddy went around the outside of Scott Hansen, entering the very fast turn 3 to take third.
So here comes Eddy now after Brad Loney. Brad sits 9th in the points. Mike sits 10th in the points. Both of them could really use a good finish here today. Hansen is 4th, right behind these two, and Tony Raines rides along in 5th. If Bob Seneca can hold on, this will be his 82nd career win. He will be the only driver to have won. Whoa, look at Mike Eddy get it sideways. Did you see that? You see the wheel was completely crossed up. He dipped it down below the white line, and it started to get away from him. Bob, I was going to say, would be the only driver on the tour with 3 wins. Mike Eddy has 2. Hansen has 2. Let's look at this again with Mike Eddy. Watch his wheel. Watch his hands on the steering wheel. You'll be able to see him inside the driver's cockpit. Whoa! Look at the hands. Look how quick he moved them.
The white gloves were definitely active in that cockpit. When you ask Mike after the race, he might say, yeah, got a little excited there.
All right, now we talked about how traffic had come into play here. Harold Fair just in front of Mike, and Mike splits the gap between Fair and Loney to take over second. All right, so we've got a handful of laps to go. Can Mike Eddy run down Bob Seneca?
I think Seneca, with lap traffic and with what he has left, may be able to hold off the Polar Bear.
There is Seneca, just behind Brett Bell, who is laps down, and Eddy just behind, but not for long, Dennis Berry. Well, the one thing Bob Seneca does not need is a yellow.
If Seneca is able to pass lap traffic on straightaways and has to make Mike Eddy pass lap traffic in the turns, he has no force over that. But if Eddy has to pass lap traffic in the turns and Seneca's clear of them in the corners, Eddy will have to settle for second today.
You know, I would normally agree with you on that, but the way we've seen Mike get through the turns here today, he has made a tremendous amount of passes in the middle of the turn that I don't know if that's really going to be a hindrance.
We'll find out.
We're about to. This is going to be a great dogfight. We hope you've been able to join us for all 300 laps here at LaCrosse, Wisconsin. The first time in 15 years the American Speed Association has been here. This is your battle for third between Loney and Hansen. Hansen, the white 53, trying to get to the bottom. 5 to go. What are these Wisconsin fans going to say if a pair of Michigan drivers come in here and take the top 2 spots away from this Wisconsin group of drivers?
They're going to applaud, because I know that the fans here at LaCrosse are very educated, and they know when they've seen a good race.
They have definitely seen that. Don't you think, Dave Burns?
And Ralph, interestingly, this is the first time in 1996 that there have been more Wisconsin contenders in the group than Michigan guys. We had 9 Wisconsin drivers today and only 8 from Michigan. So that would be a double whammy if Bob Sineker and Mike Eddy were to come home the victors.
Bob Sineker finished 6th in the RC Cola 200, which was the name of that first ever ASA race here back in September 2nd of 1981. Today he is looking to greatly improve on that finishing position, searching for victory number 82 in the American Speed Association. Carl Muscotten slowing down. If Carl Muscotten does not make it to pit lane, will the yellow come out?
That would help Mike Eddy, but we stay green as he has made it.
Just makes it. The white flag is about to come out for Bob Sineker, and I don't think Mike Eddy is going to be able to reel him in.
The gap is going to tire down as the leaders go by.
The gap is a little over a second. Harold Farron coasting down around the front straightaway. Bob Sineker makes his way down the backstretch. The winningest driver in American Speed Association competition is about to add another trophy to the mantle. And after 15 years of not being here, Bob Sineker wins an ASA race at LaCrosse, Wisconsin. Mike Eddy comes home second. Brad Loney is third. Fourth goes to Scott Hansen. Fifth will go to Tony Raines. Kevin Sawinski, I believe, is sixth. Behind that is Dave Sensabaugh, Gary St. Amand. Stay with us. We'll come back and talk to the winningest driver on the AC-Delco Challenge Series Tour, Bob Sineker, right after this. Bob Sineker has crossed the cheddar curtain, Dave Burns, and he has brought home a victory, career number 82.
Easy for these guys. When they won at Cedar Rapids, a spark plug wire early in the race came off. Today, Bob, John DeCook said you were chasing brake problems when you were pumping the cylinders full of fluid. You guys came through again.
Well, the crew did a heck of a job for me. They got that brake problem fixed and got the right tires on. The car was really good at the end. I don't know if how long I could hold off Mikey because he had pressure tires, but the car was as good as it was going to get on the rubber. It was pretty good.
Now, when your brakes finally came back, any problems at all with them? Were they off at all, or did you have to adjust your driving style?
A little bit, because I had 3-wheel brakes. I had to pinch off one rear brake again, but on this racetrack it wasn't too bad. So just running by myself wasn't a problem. In traffic it was a little bit, but not too bad.
Now, was anybody telling you that Mike was coming and that you had to get ready for one of these classic battles?
Well, when I saw him pit on that last caution when we were coming up on him, he knew that he had to do it or he was going to get past, and I knew he was going to come from the back because, as Mike always does, and he was going to be dominant, but he just didn't have the time to do it.
Mike, do you feel like your season has come together now, that it's really turned around for you?
Bob is my name.
Oh, yeah. Who are you?
Yeah, we're happy for Lane Automotive Johnsonville. They're gone.
Yeah, see, let me see. JR Automation, Mechanics Wear, yeah.
Mr. Gasket, our sponsors, they're doing a good job for us. And the crew's done a heck of a job. I'm really proud of them. They can really fix things when they're wrong, and they get the car excellent for me.
Well, one thing's for sure, guys. Bob Sineker still enjoys racing in the ASA, and we expect him to be around for a few years more.
Thank you, Dave. Bob Sineker has now gotten victories this year at Grand Rapids, at Berlin, at Hawkeye Downs in Cedar Rapids, and now LaCrosse, Wisconsin. The only 3-time winner on the tour, the man with 82 to his credit, the winningest driver of the American Speed Association, has done it again. We'll be back with more.